Hello there, folks. Welcome into our ESPN FC studios. My name is Kevin Egan. Absolutely honoured to be alongside Alejandro Moreno and Nedum Onuoha, Jurgen Klinsmann, our World Cup champion, joining us here shortly. What are you laughing at?
Well, it's a lot of energy. I
That was
like
a
it.
lot of energy.
Yes.
At night time.
You know what it was? World Cup energy.
World Cup energy,
Yes.
indeed. We've got a great game and a great ending to the match earlier on today between the Netherlands and Japan. After 42 minutes, Robbo, upstairs in the green room, said, "This is the worst game of the World Cup so far." And after he said that, it all kicked off between the Netherlands and Japan. Virgil van Dijk on target for the Dutch, maybe the greatest nation to never win the World Cup. Nagamura with the equaliser. Then after 57 minutes, we saw West Ham's Somerville with the goal in 64 before Kamada, late on in the game, levelling things for Japan. This was fun. This was one of those games, Ali, to enjoy for the neutral.
It was fun. After what was the minute that you told me?
Say 42? You say 42?
Yeah.
Okay. After the 42nd minute, what we saw in the second half from both of these teams was encouraging and at the same time discouraging from both teams. They gave us reasons as to why we should be excited about both the Netherlands and Japan, and they also gave us reasons as to why we kind of go, yeah, these teams, they got round of 16, maybe quarterfinals, and that's about it. In regards to the Netherlands, and this is perhaps why I'm not so high on them, they're winning the game 2-1. When they scored the second goal, great goal by Somerville, by the way, instead of continuing to dominate the game in the manner in which they were up until that point and right around the time that they scored the second goal, they started taking a step back and further back and further back. And I don't know whether that's Ronald Koeman or the players themselves that just, we're going to sit further and further and further. And you know who noticed that? The fans in the stadium from Japan, who started going crazy. They felt the momentum shifting, and it was a momentum that was shifting, not so much because Japan were doing a whole lot with the balls, because the Netherlands just gave them all the initiative. And then the fans got behind Japan, and they started to believe, and at that point, all it took is one service here, one mistake there, or one deflection here, or a header here, and now you're giving up a late goal to Japan. Give them credit, but I think some of that had to do with the fact that the Netherlands decided to take a step back way too early in the match, in a moment in which they were dominating. They gave the initiative to Japan, and Japan made them pay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think for the way that Japan were in that first half, they were very much on the back foot, almost soaking up the pressure and hitting them on the break. I think it's the same way that we saw them beat England, I think, in March time. And they're technically good, very committed, and they will force you back at certain points. But it wasn't a great game from them, I thought, at that stage. But interestingly, in the second half, I'm pretty sure the Netherlands finished with a back five. So you had Nathan Ake, you had Mickey van der Ven, you had Virgil van Dijk, you had Van Hecker, and you had Dumfries.
That's good counting, Nedum. Good counting.
But like, it's the significance of those players, because as well, so like Ake's coming on, I think for at the same time Somerville's coming off. So that's a really negative step, as you've mentioned, and in some ways that is a bit concerning, because this game against Japan, obviously it's not an easy game. By no chance will it be that. But I thought it would have been more positive, to be honest.
It's a fascinating point you both make. Casey Keller spoke about it, comparing the US and Mexico and their approaches after they score in games, and how Mexico went conservative. And you're saying we see the same here with the Dutch. Where's your credit for Japan here in this?
Well, the credit for Japan is that you like the quality of play that they have up until they get to the final third. There's a lot to like about Japan and the technical quality of their game, the possession of their game in the middle third. But once they get into the final third, that's where I have questions about Japan and how they're able to finish their opportunities. But again, once the Netherlands gave them the initiative, then they started swinging balls in, which seemed like, all right, what? Japan swinging balls in, that kind of plays into the hands of this back five that you're talking about, Nedum, because then the Netherlands are just going to clear the danger and they're going to move on with their lives and going to win the game. But what do you know? It is Japan that is winning a header. With all those numbers that the Netherlands had behind the ball, yeah, who's attacking the ball? The Japanese player. Kamada is the one that attacks the ball and actually scores a goal. The sense of belief from Japan was there, even more so. And you talk about whether a crowd can make a difference or not. I thought it made a difference today. I thought in that stadium you could sense, look, I'm not from Japan. You could sense Nippon. I'm like, all right, okay, all right.
Who's the one with energy now?
Well, I felt like it was like Japan were being pushed forward by their own fans, whereas the Netherlands, the Dutch, who we think, oh, yeah, Orange Crush, and they're going to fill the stadium, they went quiet because they felt it too. It's like, wait, now we're just hanging on? Is this what we're going to do? We're just going to hang on here? I give credit to Japan for believing that they were capable of doing this, whereas at the point that Netherlands scored the second goal, I didn't think that Japan had it in them to come back. They believe, far more important, that they believe that instead of me believing in them, and they're going to score the game-tying goal, which feels like a win to them, and it feels like a loss to the Netherlands.
They've never made the quarterfinal of a World Cup. They have players sprinkled throughout all the top leagues in Europe. Is this the team to finally make a run to a quarterfinal stage?
I just don't know. I think this tournament itself is so tricky because there is that extra round. And who you face then, we don't even know who it's going to be now. The team that could finish third in one group might be far stronger than the team that finishes third in another. So for Japan, it's a great comeback from them. I think they were celebrating that game at the end because they knew how significant it was for them. But that doesn't really scream of a team to me that's going to be getting to the quarterfinals and beyond. I think they celebrated that because they felt they were underdogs. I think for the most part, they played a great role as an underdog. But I don't know how far that can take you into the latter rounds of a tournament. Yes, they'll be very tough to play against. I think they were dogged, they were competitive, they had the quality when they needed to, and they had enough speed to sort of force you back and keep you honest. I've got to say as well, though, the goal from Kamada, he has no idea what's going on. Someone's headed that onto his head. But, you know, as far as like drawing it up, like I'm going to do as little as possible. Well, do you know, I do care. I do care. Just
seriously? Because
I'm not going to make this about me. I'm going to make this about me. There was a goal that I thought I scored for Man City, I think against Birmingham City. I headed it, saw it go into the net, happy days. It brushed the foot of Carlos Tevez. And Carlos said, this is definitely my goal and there's no way that you can have it. So I am a little bit touchy about those moments where someone does nothing and gets something.
You didn't get that
for it.
bonus, no?
No, thankfully not.
But think about it, though. It's two Japanese players getting their head on the ball before the Netherlands are able to react. And yes, it is by accident. Yeah, it deflects off of him, but the first header was well won by Japan. And it's something that you alluded to earlier in the substitutions that were made from Ronald Koeman. Yeah, you put Nathan Ake back there, but in taking an attacking player, you now have lost the possibility of finding an outlet in the attack when you can take advantage of the fact that you're absorbing some pressure, Japan is committing numbers forward, and if you leave enough numbers for transitions going forward, once you win possession of the ball back, you actually have a threat going the other way. But they took that threat off the field. They took the threat of transition. Memphis Depay is not going to run away from anybody right now at this point in his career. He is not. And so you put him on the field, you have given up the chance of actually getting out in behind Japan. You're just hoping that he can hang on to the ball long enough to release some pressure.
So both of you guys are questioning Ronald Koeman today then?
The approach in the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes of the game from Ronald Koeman, I thought was too defensive, too early. You want to make those decisions with 5 minutes to go, if indeed you think that's necessary. But my point is, on the bigger picture, the Netherlands were dominating the game. They scored the second goal, they were in control of the match, and they forfeited that control. They conceded the control to Japan. And that's on both the players on the field and certainly in the substitution pattern of the coach.
Craig Burley brought up earlier on today, ESPN YouTube page. Go and subscribe and check it out. The leadership of Virgil van Dijk has often been called into question by some bigger figures in the Netherlands. Given the season that he's had, he scored a big goal today. I thought you could see the stress and the emotion on his face before the game today. I felt like he was carrying the weight of a nation in many ways. If the Dutch are to be successful, Nedum, Van Dijk needs to be at the peak of his powers.
Yeah, I think he absolutely does, but not necessarily with scoring the goals like he did today. Firstly, it was a great header, and he's somebody that carries so much threat.
Can I ask a question?
Go on.
Was it not a foul? Is it not a two-handed push?
It depends if you push with your fingers or with your palms. This was just more of like a...
all right, so it was a nudge.
It's more like just one of those, yeah. To be fair, the Japanese defender didn't even ask for a free kick, so in some ways, sometimes you would have sold that.
I would have gone down. It would have been a foul, I'll tell you that.
But I think you are right, though, and I think for him personally, it's been probably his toughest Liverpool season that hasn't featured an injury. I think from the way the season started with losing one of his peers, one of his friends in Jota, for them to not be able to defend the title the way that they wanted to, and for him to not have his best season after having the year that he did before lifting the league title, that will be a concern. But now that he's back and he's playing in the World Cup, as we will say today, we will say tomorrow, and we'll say to the very end, playing at the World Cup is the peak of football. It's the very peak. There's somebody who's kicking the ball for the first time now, who's watching this World Cup thinking one day I would love to get the chance to do that. And that's the dream that he's living. And he's walking the team out representing that nation.
A nation that's made it to 3 finals. A nation that's never gotten over the line. Who would you be more scared to go up against, Japan or the Netherlands later in the tournament?
in the latter stages of this competition, I would not be scared to play either one of these teams because neither one of these teams, I don't want to be negative. I'm in a festive spirit because it's the World Cup, but neither one of these teams really threaten you offensively. Individually, they don't have enough for guys that can break somebody down 1v1 situations. They don't seem to get enough, in the case of Japan, out of Takekubo in terms of productivity. He's supposed to be the guy that could make things happen for them in the final third. And I just don't think that the Netherlands have the sort of players that really threaten you and scare you. You know,
Gakpo was lively today.
Doesn't scare me.
That Gakpo was lively, Marlon was lively, Somerville scored a great goal.
But do they
as well.
scare you?
No.
I think from my side of things with these two teams in the later rounds, the team that would offer you the most sort of pressure, not necessarily because they're a better side, but I think Japan can play in a style which would frustrate you more. Because Japan, as we saw in the first half of this game, will happily go through long spells of not having possession, but keep you on it enough to be able to go and hit you on the break. Whereas I think from the Dutch side, the moment they take a step back, it's very rare that you'll see them continue to take steps forward as well. So with the Netherlands, you could get like a toe-to-toe type of game. With Japan, they can hit you late. They can hit you in ways which you probably don't expect.
I suppose that we could make this arguments about just any team, and we can have that conversation about Brazil. We can have a conversation about other teams in this World Cup. Is you think about the Dutch at their best in terms of attacking talent, and you go back to, say, the 1988 European Championships, and you're saying, well, Ruud Gullit and Marco van Basten, well, they're not walking through the door, right?
This certainly isn't total football.
No, it's half football. Right? And so it's just individually, I don't think they have enough to really push teams in the latter stages of the competition. They're going to get through the group stage. They're probably going to win 1 or 2 knockout matches. But once they get to that next level, I think that's when you feel like, they may have enough ball control in the midfield, but do they have enough in the top end of the field to really scare somebody? I don't think they do.
All right, that's the thoughts of Ali and Nedum. Make sure you get the thoughts of Gab and Jules, their latest podcast, dropping on Monday. Everywhere you get your podcast, go and check out the work. Fabulous shades. Love that jersey as well.
He's going to shave at some point, right? He's going to clean up or not? Good Lord.